Welcome back everyone. In this video I'm going to show you how to make a crispy pork belly using a rotisserie. Alright, so we've got this beautiful little pork belly we picked up from our butcher at Austral Meat. We're just going to start by taking it out of the vac seal. Then we're just going to flip it over and trim off any silver skin or excess fat. Alright, I'm not going to go too crazy, I'm happy with that. What we need to do now is pat the skin dry. I'm just going to do that with some paper towel. Alright, now we want to pierce the skin all over. I'm going to be using a jacquard, but if you've got something else sharp, we just want to pierce the skin a couple of mil deep all over. Alright, now that's done, I'm going to get this into the fridge. It's going to spend about 48 hours in there just to really dry that skin out. So I've used a few different methods to prepare that pork skin in the past, and I find that drying the skin out in the fridge for a couple of days works best. But if you've got another method that you use, feel free to use that. And I also try to avoid supermarket pork. A lot of it's moisture infused and it's really hard to get good crackling on there. Make sure you go to your butcher and get a quality piece of pork and you'll have a great head start to getting that perfect crackling. So like I said, we're going to let that skin dry out for about 48 hours, then we'll come back to get it on the rotisserie. Right, our pork belly's been drying out for 48 hours, but before we get that out, we're going to get some charcoal going. Alright, so we're going to be using our Oklahoma Joe's Blackjack kettle. We're going to be using our rotisserie attachment a bit later on, which fits on any 57cm kettle. We'll put one charcoal basket aside, we'll get some firelighters going, we'll get our charcoal chimney on top, and we'll fill it up with either lump charcoal or briquettes. Alright, so we've got about 10 to 15 minutes before those briquettes are going to be ready, and you'll notice I really filled up that charcoal chimney. I want to get both of our charcoal baskets really nice and full to create some nice high heat, which is going to be key to building that perfect crackling. Now I get asked all the time what type of briquettes I use because a lot of people struggle getting briquettes to a high enough temperature to form that really good pork crackling. I use Olive Pipco briquettes. They're really good for low and slow and hot and fast. I've personally had trouble with other brands trying to get them to a nice hot temperature to build that perfect pork crackling. So my personal recommendation is if you can't get Olive Pipco briquettes, use lump charcoal as it has a hotter burning temperature, and I'll put links down below where you can purchase olive pips and everything else we're using in the video today. So while our briquettes are getting started, we'll get this pork belly out. Alright, so that skin is nice and dry now. It's really hardened up. That's exactly what you want. The sides have dried up a bit, so I'm just going to face them up. Now you don't have to do this, but to get some extra flavour in there, I'm just going to season the meat side in our steak shooter rub. And we're just going to lightly oil the skin. Then we'll finish it off with some flaky salt. Then the next thing we can do is get it into our rotisserie basket. And now we'll wait for our briquettes to be ready, then we'll come back to get this on. Alright, so our briquettes are ready. We'll take them out for a moment. We'll get our charcoal baskets in place. We'll fill our charcoal baskets up. Then we'll get our rotisserie attachment in place. Then we can get this pork belly on. Now if I just stop the motor there, my general rule of thumb is if you can hold your hand under the pork belly for 2 to 3 seconds before it becomes unbearable, that's a good temperature. And because this is only a small pork belly, I'm just going to move our charcoal baskets in a little bit. And now we'll let it go. So when I'm using a rotisserie in that first hour, I'm focusing on that crackling using that high intense heat. You want to make sure you don't have any fuel or very little fuel directly underneath whatever you're cooking. Otherwise that's going to cause flare-ups when any rendering fat drips down. And no matter what type of rotisserie you're using, I always like to follow that rule I spoke about earlier, where you should be able to hold your hand under whatever you're cooking for about 2 to 3 seconds before it becomes unbearable. Other rotisseries you can either lower or raise whatever you're cooking to help get the right temperature, but for a rotisserie attachment like this, we're simply going to be using our charcoal baskets. If we want more high intense heat on that crackling, we'll move the charcoal baskets closer. If we want to reduce our heat, then we'll spread them out more. After that first hour, we want to reduce our heat just so our pork belly cooks nice and even. Your briquettes or charcoal will naturally die down, which will lower your temperature. Or another option if you need to increase or decrease your temperature is simply add more fuel or take some out. But for now, we're going to let this pork belly spin away and we'll check back in soon. Alright, so it's been about 45 minutes. This crackling is looking absolutely incredible. I'm just going to stop the motor so we can have a good look at it. Seriously, that is set all over. So what we'll do, I'll just flick that motor back on and we'll just spread our charcoal baskets out a bit. Now it's only a small pork belly, so I don't think it's actually going to take too much longer before it's ready. I'm going to be looking for an internal temperature in the thickest part of the pork belly of around 195 Fahrenheit or 90-ish degrees Celsius. So we'll give this another 10 to 15 minutes, then we'll come back to see where we're at. Alright, so it's been another 20 minutes. We've hit that internal temperature we spoke about in our pork belly. So I'll turn this motor off, take the top of our basket off. And then we'll take our pork belly out. All right, now we can slice it up. All right, now I'll show you how we're going to serve it. So we've got a toasted white corn tortilla. Just going to keep it simple. We'll lay down a little bit of slaw and then some of that beautiful pork belly. And some chipotle mayo. Then we'll top it off with some coriander, and now we can taste. All right, now I'm just going to try a bit of the pork belly on its own first. That is so good. That's that perfect bubbly crackling that you want. And that taco is super simple and tasty too. So there you have it, how to cook pork belly using a rotisserie. I'll put links to the rotisserie, the knives, the jacquard, and everything else we used in this video down in the description. If you've got any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comments below. But for now, that's the end of the video. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.